See, it's all about to start. Papa is this week, and then I come home for a few days, and I work, and then I go right back out to the Texas Pinball Festival at the end of this month. So we've got to dedicate quite a bit of time on this show to previewing the Texas Pinball Festival because I want to give it its due, and I may not get any time as it's about to get crazy. And that'll be episode 145. Let's go. Welcome to Coast2Coast Pinball. My name is Nate Shivers. This is a podcast, a commentary. I'm a man out of quarters. What's happening? Coming to you not live from beautiful summertime, San Diego, California, Monday, March 9, 2015. I say summertime because where I work out in El Cajon, it was 83 degrees today. Get out of here. It's beautiful. I love it. The beaches were packed this weekend. So packed I wouldn't even go because I hate that. But yeah, how's it going? The rest of the world is cold and freezing. Sorry. No, weather's getting nice. Pinball events are starting up. Papa's coming. Things are happening. I sold my Tales from the Crypt, which I alluded to last episode, and I got a ton of emails like, why did you do that? Wow, you love that game. Did Teresa win? She finally got rid of the Crypt Keeper. I'll tell you this story really quick because we've got business to get to, but I'll tell you this story really quick. I bought a new pinball machine, sort of on a whim. My friend Zach and I went to an estate sale last weekend that had a ton of pinball machines listed. And I'll sum it up really short. It was listed on Craigslist. It was an estate sale. It was in a neighborhood near us. So we went on a Friday morning, and there was 40 people there. Half of them were looking at pinball machines. Half of them were just rummaging through drawers full of silverware and stuff, and it was crazy. And we were there to see a few certain games. And I was there to see a Nitro Ground Shaker. Zach was there to see a Captain Fantastic, and there was a few others that we were possibly looking at. There was a $6 Million Man, there was a Dragon listed. We didn't know what the conditions were going to be like, so we got there. And I didn't like the vibe of the people there. It felt like vultures. I just felt like everybody around me was just trying to just get in, and you had to sign up on a list, and we were pretty early on the list, so we were in ahead of a lot of people, and I was standing in front of this Nitro Ground Shaker, and it was tagged at $700, which I think is a pretty fair price for a Nitro Ground Shaker. But I couldn't plug it in. Nobody could tell me how to plug the game in. Hey, can I plug this in? And people just walked by me that were working the estate sale. Hey, do you have the keys for this? No, I don't think we do. You don't have the keys. Great. So I'm looking at it, and I'm ready. I have the money in my pocket. I'm just going to buy a Nitro Ground Shaker for $700. I'm looking at the cupped inserts, and the playfield's, pretty good. A few issues. Back glass is very clean, very nice. And I'm thinking, do I buy this game? And as I'm thinking that, this guy comes up next to me. And if this guy happens to be a listener of Coast2Coast Pinball, fine. Anyway, this guy comes up next to me, and he goes, are you buying this? And I said, I believe so. Just like as if to tell him, I need a second here. And I believe my number was higher in the list, maybe, so I had precedent over him. And he goes, no, man, are you buying this? And kind of got all, I don't know, in my face a little bit. And I just looked at him, and I'm like, I'm bigger than you, so yeah, man. I go, yeah, I'm buying this. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, I was bigger than him, but, But I was super annoyed at the way he kind of got in my face about it. I said, yeah, I'm buying it, just to make him go away, so I could continue thinking. I had been in this house all of 2 minutes at this point. And Zach's over there looking at the Captain Fantastic, which was tagged at $1,500. And I have seen much better Captain Fantastics than this one for less money, even in Southern California. So I was kind of looking at Zach like, you don't want that game. Let's look at what else they have. And I was really kind of stuck on this Nitro Ground Shaker because I don't have anywhere to put the game. I have too many games in this condo. So I just total conundrum. Didn't know what to do. Was sort of frozen. And I looked at the condition of some of the other games. The Dragon was on the floor in pieces, and I mean in pieces. There are some old EM titles floating around this place that were just a mess. And there's a game plan game, I don't even remember which one it was. Just things didn't look good. And I thought, you know what? If these games are all trashed, who knows what I'm going to find inside this game? That playfield's not that great. I don't know. Let's go downstairs. So we went back downstairs and they had more games in the garage. And some people, this would have been just so exciting in a gold mine. But I'm kind of like, I don't know, on the fence. And I see the guy who had gotten in my face. And I said, you know what? I'm going to be cool. And I go up to him, I'm like, hey, man, I'm not going to buy that Nitro Ground Shaker. You should go get it. And I was trying to be cool. And he, like, swears at me. He's like, man, what the... That's the only reason I came down here. And I'm like, well, then go get it. And he, like, stormed off all in a huff. I'm like, sorry, dude, I needed a minute. So maybe the etiquette was my bad. Maybe that was on me. But, you know, I'm going to take my time. So anyway, we ended up not buying anything at the estate sale. Later that day, Zach actually bought a Playboy, an original Bally Playboy, 1978 Playboy, at a pawn shop of all places in El Cajon. And really nice game, in very good shape, $1,400, you know, fair enough. Zach was into it. That's one of his all-time favorite games, so great. So Zach got a game, and I was back in my office all bummed because this estate sale didn't quite go like I thought it was going to go, and I was sort of regretting it, like, man, I should have just bought the Nitro Ground Shaker, put it in the, you know, garage and figured it out later. I could have flipped it for the same, probably, whatever. A little mad at myself, and I thought, you know what I really want? You know what I've really been wanting? I want Metallica. I want to buy a Metallica, because I'm having so much fun playing my America's Most Haunted. I still love playing my Twilight Zone, but I gotta tell you, I haven't been playing Tales from the Crypt, and I haven't been playing my Bride at Pinbot. I want a Metallica, but again, I don't have any room for Metallica. So I get on Pinside, and I'm just perusing Pinside, and there's a thread on Pinside that's, you know, Southern California wanted her for sale thread, and I click on it, and somebody had posted a list of games they were looking for, and in that list of games was Tales from the Crypt. So I private messaged the guy. I said, hey man, I have a Tales from the Crypt that is for sale. Shoot me your email address, I'll send you some photos. And I had actually tried to sell this game about 4 months ago and got cold feet and pulled it and didn't sell it because I wanted to keep it. So I had photos in my email. So I sent this guy the photos, and he said, yeah, it looks good. And I said, you know what, hold on. I want to take some more photos later. So, because there's a few cabinet dings here and there, and I wanted the shooter lane. I wanted it all. I wanted him to see every bit of this game, because I hate selling games. I hate it. I don't want to play the game where I price my Tales from the Crypt at $2,500, and you offer me $17, and I say, I'll take $23, and you go $19, and I go $19.50, and you got a deal. I don't want to do that. I don't have the energy, and I don't want to be, that guy with the podcast who tried to rip me off. I don't want to do that. So I threw a price out that I thought was fair for the game, because my Tales from the Crypt had a fantastic playfield. Perfect playfield. Everything worked on it. I had LEDs throughout. Really good game. Cabinet sides were really pretty clean. A few little nicks on the head, but overall really clean game. Southern California, it's $1,800 all day long. So I told him it's $1,800. That's my price. And I sent him pictures to make it look as bad as I could. I sent him the most unflattering photos of that Tales from the Crypt. I said, I'm trying to make this game look as bad as I can, so if you don't want it or you're looking for collector quality, you will not buy this game. And I also sent him a video. And I set up my camera and I took a video of gameplay, and I actually set the high score on the game, of course, when I'm trying to just take a quick gameplay video, because that's how it goes. And he said, yep, I want it, let's do it. And Saturday morning, he came down from up in east of LA, we'll say, Inland Empire-ish area. And he paid me my money. I helped him load the game. All's good, right? Wrong. He calls me later with that horrible call, or actually he emailed me. He said, hey man, the flashers aren't working on the game. The eyes aren't flashing. The flashers aren't working. And now I'm like, oh no. I didn't realize the flashers weren't working. I really didn't. And I'm just like, man. And I've seen the eyes flash on a Tales from the Crypt before, but I never realized the one in my house, the eyes weren't flashing. So I look like an idiot to this guy, and he knew the show, and he was so nice. He brought his son. I gave him Coast2Coast Pinball t-shirts. It's an awkward thing for me, because I don't view myself as anything more than just some dude who likes to talk about pinball, but he knew the show and was telling me he would like the show and it was good, and it's very flattering. So I felt just horrible now that I've sold him this game that has a problem, and I'm like gonna think, oh man, how much should I refund him for this? And he's emailing me like, I've stayed up trying to figure it out, and I emailed him back like, I don't know, let me do some Googling and some searching. This is why I hate selling pinball machines. And then after a little while, I went back to the computer and I said, hey man, did you happen to try changing the flasher bulbs? Because I had this thought, like, maybe I put the wrong bulbs in those flashers. Guess what? He changed the flasher bulbs and they all worked. So the story's happy. So I got my money for my Tales from the Crypt. I have some space, and I bought a Metallica. And it's not here yet. It's not here yet. It's being built right now. Stern's doing one last run of Metallica. I'm getting one new in a box. I'm very excited about that. So that's my story that I had alluded to sort of on the last show. I posted the funny picture of No Tales from the Crypt and a little stack of $100 bills on the ground where it was. Yes, I'm getting Metallica. I'm really excited about it. I can't wait. Yeah, and Teresa got rid of the Crypt Keeper. I mean, she won in the end, right? It was the Crypt Keeper versus Teresa for all these months. She wins. It's a great game. Tales from Crypt is a fantastic game, and I think having it for a year is awesome. And then, I only have so much space. I really want a Metallica. I want a new Stern. I kind of want to support Stern, to be quite honest. They do a lot for us. They build all these great games, and I've never spent any money on a Stern. So we're going to do that. We're going to get a Metallica Pro LED in here. I'm very excited. I grew up playing Metallica on guitar. I'm a guitar player. So that's very exciting. Cannot wait. You'll get the whole unboxing photos and me as a happy kid in a few weeks or whatever. Cannot wait. Also, cannot wait for the Texas Pinball Festival. So the rest of this show, the balance of this show, is going to be me. Instead of me just going through the list of things happening at the Texas Pinball Festival, I thought it'd be much more interesting to have Mr. Ed Vanderveen come on the show, who has so graciously invited me the past 2 years to come to the Texas Pinball Festival. And this year, he and I worked out, I'm going to be doing Coast2Coast Pinball Live on Saturday night at the Texas Pinball Festival. I will be basically doing this show in the seminar room live, an hour-long or 45-minute-long Coast2Coast Pinball Live. I will also record it and post it as a podcast. So fear not, those of you who will not be at the show. Whatever I say or do or happens there will get recorded and get put on the site and on iTunes. But I'm going to do it live for the audience. I would encourage audience participation if you're coming to the show. I will have some free t-shirts to be given out to those of you who help me out with this show. You'll hear me and Ed talk. I hint at maybe him working out a special guest for me. I have a few other people who I knew were going to be at the show that I'm going to try and drag in on this. It's going to be a fun time. If nothing else, if there's two people in the room and me, I'm just going to do the show like I'm in my place here in California and pretend there's nobody there. That's what I'll do, and you can watch it live, and maybe I'll welcome some new game to the D-list or whatever, recap the show. It's going to be fun. I think it'll be a great time to sum up the Texas Pinball Festival Saturday night. So, without further ado, let's jump into me talking with Ed Vanderveen.
Call the people.
I would like to welcome to Coast2Coast Pinball, Mr. Ed Vanderveen. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, Nate. How are you?
I am really good. We're at this time of year is sort of the calm before the storm of major pinball events, and there may be no bigger of an expo event, show type of event than the Texas Pinball Festival, which you are one of the organizers for. Are you excited? Are you busy? How's it going?
We are so busy. My house looks like, the pinball show is thrown up all over it. I've got boxes and ribbons and trophies and things the trophies aren't here, but we've got shirts and stuff. It's just scattered out. It's just taken over the house while we're trying to get ready with registrations and things. So, we're extremely busy right now.
That's excellent. I saw your post on Facebook today that I believe it's today. You hit 400 registered games for the show. Is that a pretty good mark for this early on?
Well, 400 games that's always a great mark for us. That was kind of our goal. Last year I think we actually came in a little under that, but that was our mark last year. But I can tell you that as of today, we actually have 400 games have been committed to come to the show. And I gave a little teaser in there. I've got 6. There's going to be 6 little surprises at the show. But
I like that.
Yeah, we were asked not to list those games. So, but hopefully that they'll be there. But we have 400 games registered. Well, 402. I think 2 people have registered games since my post, and I also have a couple of vendors that I know are bringing 10 or 15 games apiece that they've not given me their game list yet. So, with any luck, we'll hit 400 pinball machines plus 40 or 50 video games.
I was going to say there will be a certain amount of people who, in the last week or so, just say, "I'm going to bring my game down," and give you a call and just come on down with it, won't there?
They do, and that's absolutely fine. The only purpose of the registration cutoff is because we have to have time to get everybody's name badges printed and get the package put together. And if we leave registration open, there's just no way to do that. But if you want to bring a game to the show, if you want it listed on the website and you want your name badge and all that cool stuff that comes with the pre-registration, I need it registered by the 15th. But if you can't do that, if you just show up at the door, I'm absolutely going to let you in, and we'll give you a wristband, and we'll get your game set up and that's not a problem at all.
So that is Sunday, March 15th. We need the pre-registrations in by. That's excellent info. I gotta say, I went to a lot of shows last year. I was in Seattle, I was in Milwaukee, I was in Chicago. Most of the shows, there was either the vibe of we need more games or we need more space. At almost every show, I could say that it was either more games or more space were needed. I certainly can't say that about the Texas Pinball Festival. You have a ton of space and a ton of games in there.
Right.
What is it like trying to organize this? How big is your team? What's it like, and when do you start the preparations for a show of this scale?
Well, there's 4 anchored organizers. There's myself, my wife Kim, Paul McKinney, and Ken Kemp. That many people, they know him as the Pinball Rebel, and they get the free play cards off of his website.
Yep.
And then in addition to that, we do have some head folks that help us out. Jaylan Gillum, she kind of coordinates our volunteers. Of course, Marcus Trevino is our tournament director, and Robert Harris, he also helps with the tournaments. And we have Sean Christian, who's kind of the floor manager. He helps organize the setup of the show when everybody starts bringing their games in. And then we have, my goodness, 20 or 30 just awesome volunteers that volunteer their time, and they come in because they really want the show to succeed, and they're pinball people, so they come and they sign up and they really help put the show together for us.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but your team that you have and your main 4 organizers, you guys didn't start the show, right? You sort of inherited the show over the years?
Well, that's correct. Paul McKinney he's an OG. He's an original organizer that started when it started way back when, 12 years ago. And yes, over time, organizers have come and gone. The original organizers, they kind of retire. It's pretty tasking. I mean, year after year, after a while, you kind of go, gosh, I don't spend any time playing pinball, and I just want to, retire and enjoy the show from now on. And that's what a lot of them have decided to do. And that's true. If you ask anybody that puts on the show, I play no pinball during the Texas Pinball Festival, except maybe during setup just to make sure the games are working right. But it is a tiring, nonstop, but we love it, and everybody that's involved is just awesome.
Well, it's kind of become, I feel like, just in the last 2 years, the awareness of the show and sort of the hard work that you guys put into and the amount of games and everything, it's sort of got out to everybody, because I got a lot of emails this year from people saying, I hope to meet you in Texas. Like, I feel like it's growing. Are you seeing attendance ticking up year by year?
We have about a 20% growth rate in attendance every year for the last 3 or 4 years. It's really starting to pick up. But unlike some other shows, I mean, we start promoting the show October 1st. That is kind of our goal. That's when pre-registration opens, and we really start, talking about the show and telling people they can pre-register and start signing up games and trying to start the excitement. And that's, of course, we go to Expo and, we hit up all their vendors, and they're welcome to do that too. We actually have a little group. All the show organizers talk to each other and try to help each other with their shows. But we start really early, and it's nonstop, and especially after the holidays. Once the holidays are over, all of our spare time is completely consumed by this show.
You mentioned how early you start promoting it, because I remember, I believe it was early November when you guys announced a kind of a good get on the so-called, like, maybe the circuit of the people who come to speak at these things, and that's Mark Ritchie. He hasn't done an awful ton of shows, and it's pretty cool that you're going to have him at Texas to talk and meet with people and sign autographs.
We're very excited to have Mark, and Mark was our first guest that we announced. I've known Mark for a little while just because I'm friends with Steve, and when I go to visit my father in Chicago, I get to go hang out with those guys. And this last expo, Mark and I were hanging out and having a cigar, and I said, man, you really got to come to Texas. I promise you'll love it. And luckily everybody else talked Mark and told him, man, you've got to go to Texas. It's a great show. So I kind of bullied him a little bit and got him to agree to come. So he's coming, and he's going to bring his wife, and people are just really looking forward to seeing him.
Is he going to be doing an autograph session or a speech, or what's Mark going to do at the show?
He will. I don't want anyone to speak that is not comfortable speaking or doesn't want to speak. And I'm not saying Mark doesn't like speaking. I mean, I'm sure he does. But but sometimes they just want to come. And I think that a lot of the guests, they are happier interacting with these designers and stuff on the show floor and get some one-on-one time with them and just kind of hanging out with them. But yeah, we'll have an autograph session that Mark will be there. But this time around, Mark is not going to do an official presentation of any kind, but he's absolutely going to be in the main hall, hopefully, quite a bit, and he can go talk to people. You can, approach him. He's a very approachable guy. He'll answer any questions you want to one-on-one and chit-chat with you, and whatever it is you want to ask him, take pictures. He's an awesome guy.
Ed, this is not set up. We didn't talk about this before, but I am doing a little bit of a live Coast-to-Coast Pinball show on Saturday night at the show. If I were to need a special guest for Coast-to-Coast Pinball Live, Mark Ritchie would make an awful nice guest. So if you know anybody who knows anybody and could put in a word for this guy, I'm just saying.
I think I might know a guy.
It's just a thought.
We might be able to do that. We can certainly approach Mark and ask him if he wants to do that. It's not like he's going anywhere. I've got his plane tickets, so he can't leave until Sunday. So we got him hostage.
I don't mean to put you on the spot there, but if there was ever a request for 10 minutes with someone for my show, that would be a good one. I think that'd be excellent.
Sure.
So past Mark Ritchie, that's awesome. He's coming. You're also having John Trudeau for the first time come to the Texas Pinball Festival. Yes,
this will also be John Trudeau's first trip to the Texas Pinball Festival. I had talked to John Trudeau again at Expo a little bit. I didn't really, set it up with him at that time. WWE was announced. John had never, we had kind of kicked around who else we were going to bring to Texas. And so I emailed John, and he said absolutely, he'd love to come. So John is going to do a presentation, and I think he's pretty excited about doing that. I don't know what his presentation is going to be on, but he said his I assume it's going to be about stuff at Stern, and I'm sure he'll talk about all of his past games.
Well, it's very timely since WWE is the current game running off the line there at Stern. And people love John Trudeau. I hear that more than any. When people tell me they met John Trudeau, it's like, oh man, I love that guy. He's so nice. So that's a good thing. That's awesome.
Doesn't he play guitar or something?
He is a guitar player. He's a musician. Absolutely.
We need to get him to bring that and do like an unplugged session or something. I know he likes performing.
Absolutely. Well, that's another good get. We can go down the list after that. You've got so many heavy hitters. George Gomez is going to be there. Steve Ritchie obviously will be there. But I wanted to bring up Whiz Bang Pinball will be there. Dennis Nordman and Greg Ferris will be there. Are they going to be showing off Whoa Nelly?
I don't have that confirmed yet. It really kind of depends on Stern. They're building it, so I know they're in the middle of moving. So we're hoping. Initially when we set this up, that was the hope that they were going to bring Whoa Nelly. I don't know that that's going to happen. I'm sure hoping it does, but I can't make any promises because it's all going to depend on. It's all going to depend on Stern Pinball and whether or not they can crank some out for us or not.
A game that we know is going to be there. Jersey Jack will be bringing the most up to date and probably close to production version of The Hobbit that we've seen so far.
He is bringing The Hobbit, and we're very excited about that. Also, I saw it at Expo, and I haven't seen it since Expo, and I know it's had a lot of changes since then. So we're looking forward to that. I think we have a Wizard of Oz also slated to be in his little area also. And, of course, they'll do a little presentation as well.
That's awesome. One of the things that I enjoyed the most last year at the show was getting to chat with some of the new folks in pinball. And Jerry Stellenberg, I got to meet him last year. He's a Texas native, so this show's sort of in his backyard. And he gets to show off, one of the obviously most forward-thinking projects in pinball, and that's the P3 platform with the Lexi Lightspeed girl. Is Jerry pretty excited to get back out to the Texas Pinball Festival?
Jerry is very excited. Jerry's a great guy, and yes, he's from Austin, Texas. We all kind of consider this to be the Texas Pinball Festival to be his home base. So he's been coming to the show every year, and so we have got to see the P3 from its. I remember the game when it was literally, looked like plastic hose that you came off a vacuum cleaner for for ramps and stuff. And I remember it when he first started this project and how neat it was back then when we were kind of a small show. So we've seen it progress into this pretty incredible thing that machine that he's made. So, but yeah, we're really excited to see Jerry and Multimorphic and Lexi Lightspeed. So, yep, and he's going to do a presentation also about what's going on with that. People like following him. He's got a pretty big following.
He does, and I think that I think this may be the show where people really take notice of that, and I think the improvements that have been made, at least in what I've seen in video so far, I'm really excited to see that in person. And then Spooky Pinball, Charlie and KT and the gang, they are driving all the way down from Wisconsin, I hear, and bringing America's Most Haunted with them. Who?
I'm kidding.
No, I know.
Yes, they are driving. Of course, they'd have to drive anyway because they're bringing some games. But I guess Charlie doesn't like flying, from what I understand. But yes, they're going to leave Wisconsin with 3 America's Most Haunted. I believe they're dropping one off along the way, and then they will show up at the Texas Pinball Festival with 2 America's Most Haunted. One of them is going to go into the tournament area. The other one will be in the Spooky Pinball booth, so everybody can play. That's one thing that we and I'm going to get off topic here, but every year we would put the new games in the tournament area, and there's a lot of non-tournament players that would show up and they would be disappointed because they'd have to go play in the tournaments to play the new game.
Exactly.
But anyway, yeah. So this will be the first time I believe America's Most Haunted has ever been used in an IFPA tournament. Well, I shouldn't say that. A tournament is, at a big show like this. I'm sure there's been other IFPA tournaments where it's been used at some point.
At a major tournament.
Right.
Going through that list of names and events and new games, and I'm leaving tons of people out, and to those people I apologize. I'm sorry, Gary Stern. You will be there. I look forward to seeing you again. But I guess the overarching theme, though, is Texas has become one of the must-see, must-go-to shows in pinball. What's that like for you, kind of being right dead center in the epicenter of a lot of the news and happenings and growth of this hobby?
Well, everybody tells us that, but for myself, the only pinball shows that I have ever been to is the Texas Pinball Festival. I go to the Houston show in November, and I've been to Expo. So I don't get to see a lot of these other shows. I hear about them, and everybody tells us how big Texas has become, and I know it's a big show, but it's very flattering that people tell us that. And of course, that's what keeps us doing it every year, because everybody tells us, how good of a job we do putting a show on. And we do try really hard. I mean, my wife Kim, she works her butt off on the registrations and the website and keeping everything straight and the orders, and I mean, it can just be overwhelming sometimes. So yes, we're very happy that everyone seems to think the show is a really good show, and I can only thank the reason it's such a good show is all of the we have such a huge pinball community here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And everybody is just so awesome. The DFW Pinball and Arcade Club. That's not our club. That's another club that's run by Sean Christian, who helps. Again, I told you, helps us with the show. But they're such a great group of people. And when the Texas Pinball Festival rolls around, they really step up and bring their games, and they want to do the best in show. They want to win those ribbons, and they're also hosting the swap meet for us again this year, because last year's swap meet was the best we've ever had. So
yeah, definitely a great opportunity for anybody driving in to maybe pick up a game, find a game, trade a game. I know there's lots of people looking to make trades at this type of scenario. When is the swap meet on the schedule?
It's on Saturday morning. It starts at 8 a.m., which is
8 a.m.
I know it's really early because it's and there will be some people out there at 8 a.m., but it'll really get 9, 10. You get your coffee, and of course the show opens at 10. So we try to set the swap meet a little bit earlier, just so because I know a lot of people want to go to the swap meet, but then they don't want to miss the show either. They don't want to wait till the show opens. So we started at 8. There'll be some people out there for those that they're able to go to bed a little earlier than the rest of us. I won't be there at 8 a.m. I'll stumble out there around 9:30 or 10 o'clock right before the show opens with my cup of coffee and see what's happening.
You made mention of how strong the local kind of Texas pinball scene is, and I met Mark Ordat with Elevation Games last year and kind of mooched off his booth a little bit as a home base for me last year, and he's a guy who runs pinball sales and arcade service company, Elevation Games, And the games he brings out, I mean, he must have had, 15 to 20 games himself there last year that he brings out. Not in there for sale, but really to me, I feel like a lot of these people are just doing it to show off these awesome games and let people play on some of these old games in beautiful condition.
Yes, that's one thing about Mark is not only is he in the sales and repair business, but he's also a collector. So you're absolutely correct. So Mark will bring out 20, 22 games, and there's always, a handful of them, 6 of them that really aren't, everything's for sale, but there's always a handful that are from his personal collection that he's really proud of, that he's restored. He's brought some Safecracker and the Hercules, and he brought a Varcon one year that, he restored top to bottom. But yeah, and he brings a lot of games out, but he's also a collector himself. So Mark's a great guy, and we look forward to having him.
Yeah, and the way you line up the show, I think you had all the vintage Stern titles all in a row last year, if I remember correctly.
That's correct. Well, that's called the Stern Row. That's actually the brainchild of a couple of other collectors here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Bill Morrison, Rich Whiskey, and a couple other guys. That's kind of their thing that they approached us and asked us about putting together a classic Stern row because they all had some classic Sterns, and of course they restore them and do a great job with that. So we've done that every year. I don't think we're going to do it this year. I think we're going to concentrate on some classic Bally's, but we'll have something pretty awesome this year.
Yeah, I know there's going to be great stuff there and things you haven't always seen. I know last year I got to play a Cubert's Quest that was just in great shape, and I'd never even seen one in person. There's always lots of interesting games popping up.
Yep, we'll have a bunch of neat stuff. What else?
Well, the tournaments. I want to touch on the tournaments. This show has been kind of tournament heavy lately with Papa coming up this week. What are the tournaments going to be like this year at the Texas Pinball Festival? I know there's been some changes.
Well, and I'm going to apologize now to everybody. I think most people know that I am not a tournament player. I like playing pinball. I am more of the social, the social aspect of the pinball collector. But I do know that with all the new changes with the IFP PA rules, that our tournaments have suddenly gone from a low point show to a very large IFPA point show. And I know on Spooky Pinball I misquoted, but I believe the correct number is like 262 IFPA points are up for grabs for our tournaments this year.
That's big. That's one of the big ones. Yep.
Right. So we have there are 5 IFPA tournaments going on. Of course, there's 3 that are going to be held on the newer style DMD type machines, and then we have an EM tournament, and then we have a solid state, which is, well, everyone knows what solid state is, but we're calling that one the retro. So there's going to be 5 main IFPA tournaments with huge points and some pretty good cash payouts and trophies. And then there's also, of course, what's very popular is the parent-child and then just the child tournament. So we'll have those as well. Now those won't be IFPA points. And then there's also a women's tournament, which I believe runs concurrent with the Wizards tournament. Which if you're a woman and you want to compete, you just got to play in the Wizards tournament, and then they will they'll take the top however many they're going to take and do a playoff for the women. So that's always been real popular as well.
That's great. Let's see. I don't want to miss anything. The auction, big auction, fun from another local company, brings a ton of games.
They are bringing a ton of games, and I'll tell you, 100 games is nothing to sneeze at.
It's amazing.
So Steve Nordseth owns Fun, and he approached us last year with this idea of the auction, and we were really, of course, your knee jerk is, well, shoot, yeah, you're going to bring 80 to 100 pinball machines to the show. Absolutely, come have your auction. But on the flip side, some people, some of our vendors were a little concerned that the auction might take away from their sales because everybody was going to wait for the auction. And we found that's not necessarily true. People that go to the pinball show, yeah, they're going to check out the auction, but they're also going to go, if there's a game that they want and one of the other vendors has it, they're going to go make their deal with that vendor.
Sure.
But the auction did really well too. And the games are, he brings some nice games, and he's got a lot of consignments coming up. Some of the titles, he's got that Orange County Choppers. They did a one-off for Orange County Choppers. There's going to be a Big Bang Bar there. And last year there was a Big Bang Bar, and they weren't letting people play it. But he's assured me that all the auction games will be on free play. So if the game is there, you'll be able to play it.
Yeah, some guy on some podcast ran his mouth about that Big Bang Bar not being able to be played. I wonder who that was.
Well, he wasn't the only one. So
okay, good. Well, then that guy apparently feels a little bit better.
And, yep.
Yeah,
he's promised that everything. If it's on the game, if it's on our game list, there are. It should be on free play. Now I'm going to go ahead and say right now, because we also had some belly aching last year. Some of our vendors, they bring machines to show off their product, and if they've got some cool mod or some cool thing that they're trying to display, they'll have they need a pinball machine as a to show it. And
the vehicle to show what they're selling,
right? And they have a hard time showing it if there's people playing it. So some of the vendors do, they just use the game as a prop to show off their product. And so there may be some games in some of the vendor booths that are not on free play. And I'm just asking people to understand that, there's 400 other games you can go play. So if there's one game at a vendor booth that they've got it, not on free play because they're trying to show off whatever it is they're trying to show off, cut us some slack.
Well, what is the etiquette there? Is the best thing to ask that vendor, could I play your machine, or do you just put? I've seen people walk up to these games that might be in, say, a lighting display section, and I've seen people just put money in it and play the game. Is that okay?
Well, no. I mean, the games are all supposed to. Well, see, now you're getting into a whole other thing when you talk about putting money in the game. Nobody should put any quarters or any coins in any of the machines. My goodness, we'll be in trouble with the state comptroller's office. But if the game's on free play, it should be on free play. If you walk up and you push the start button, it doesn't work, then sure. I mean, if you want to ask the vendor if it's on, if they can play it, they're going to give you a yes or no or explain why. Hopefully, the games that are not on free play are going to have some kind of a signage on it saying, for display only or, something like that. So they should have it marked that, the game is explaining why the game's not playable and they'll be nice about it. And sometimes they do. I mean, we found that some of the companies, they'll bring a game on Friday, they set up and they're not letting people play it, but by Saturday they relax a little bit and they go ahead and put it on free play. So.
Sure. That makes sense. Do you see a lot of change in the festival for this year versus maybe last year or the year before?
Well, we're the same venue, so the floor plan will be a little bit different than it was last year. We're going to move the seminar room to the opposite corner this year. That big convention center of the walls just kind of move, and you can kind of set it up however you want to. So we're going to move that. So the setup's going to be a little bit different, but as far as of course, like I said, the venue's the same, but other than just having more games and more people and more vendors and just being bigger altogether, then I don't know. Is that different? Does that change?
Yeah, no, that's a good answer, though. I'm interested to hear that.
Just bigger.
So you've been doing this for, over 10 years now. Is that correct? You've been there since what year? 07? So that's 8 years?
No, I think I came on in 04.
04?
03 or 03, 04. Yeah, so I've been there for 10 or 11 years.
Okay, 10 or 11. So what have you seen as far as how the festival has changed and as it's kind of ridden the wave from the popularity ups and downs that pinball has had? How's that affected running an event like this? Well,
running the event, other than just, if you're a small pinball show, you can kind of run under the radar, so to speak. The problem with growing to the size of the Texas Pinball Festival is now you catch the attention of everybody, including the tax man and insurance companies and ASCAP and all those others. So as we've grown, we've had to do things like incorporate into an LLC and we have to have insurance and of course we have to pay taxes. And so other than that, it's just more time consuming is the thing. When you're a smaller show, you can wrap up all your pre-registrations and get everything ready to go in, a couple of weeks. But with us, it takes several weeks to get everything ready to go to the show. And of course, this year we've got, when you get bigger like that, you get more vendors. Every year more vendors come, and that's great. So, and then eventually you do, like you said, you outgrow your one location. And it's not because you necessarily want to. It's just you have to find a bigger space. This year we've got, high class pinballs from Germany is, they're sending a monster pallet of play fields, and we've got pins down from France coming, and Pinball Spare Parts Australia is coming, and they're sending a big box of parts, and so you just have to make room for all of this, and you need more room for people. When we were in Grapevine, that was a 15,000 square foot venue. and it was packed. I mean, you couldn't walk, and there were so many people in there by the time we decided we have to move. And where we are now, we've got almost 40,000 square feet. So there's a lot of people room, and people like that. They like there's a lot of games, and there's a lot of open space for them to walk around and visit and not feel so congested.
Is there anything that you've been wanting to do for the show, maybe that you haven't been able to pull off yet, or you'd like to do eventually? Is there anything kind of in the back of your mind you're thinking about that you could do for Texas?
Well, no, not that of course I didn't know you were going to ask me that question, so now I'm going to sit there and think about it, and I know as soon as we hang up, I'm going to go, gosh, that's what I want to do. I've always thought about, one thing I always wanted to do was I always wanted to bring Elvira in. But she's so expensive to bring to the show as far as a special guest goes. But so we're not there yet. But
we could dress Teresa up like Elvira one year. I would volunteer her for that.
We'll bring her.
Okay, we'll work on that.
You asked me that question, and really the honest answer is we're so blessed here in Texas to have the great vendors and the great announcements that we do get, and I don't know what else I could ask for. I mean, my goodness, the show has grown to be so large, and everybody is just so complimentary of it, and we have such a great, pinball community. I don't know that I could ask for anything more. I mean, all the special guests, they come and they enjoy themselves, and I guess I wish the airport was a little closer for people, but other than that,
the freeways are big and wide in Texas. So they can get there no problem.
Right. The only other thing that we didn't bring up was the American Heroes raffle benefiting the Wounded Warrior Project. I wanted to remind people about
charity
that.
And a free pinball machine. This is an important one. Yes, tell us about that.
Well, the American Hero raffle we're going to give away a brand new WWE Pro. All of the proceeds are going to go to the Wounded Warrior Project. That's kind of a charity that it's kind of close to us. My wife and I, we both have 2 older children serving in the armed services. We have a son in the Marine Corps and a daughter in the Air Force. So we're a big military family. So that is our charity of choice for the Texas Pinball Festival. But we'll be giving away all kinds of door prizes. Stern, Jersey Jack, several companies they're kind enough. They give us T-shirts and translights and all kinds of cool stuff. And so over the course of the weekend, if you bought a raffle ticket, we put them all in that big red barrel drum. You may recall from last year.
Yeah.
We draw names out every hour and give away all kinds of great stuff. And if you win a door prize, your ticket still goes back into the drum for a chance to win the big pinball machine at the end.
That's awesome. Must be present to win or no?
You do, only because I don't want to have to ship it to you, and I don't want to have to wait around and to call you and have to come pick it up. And so and plus it just gives the appearance of a more legit type thing. I mean, if I've got 500 people staring at me on the stage, and I pull a ticket out and the winner's not there, it's just this big sigh of, oh, you got to be kidding me. It's like,
absolutely.
And plus we want to take pictures. We want pictures of the person, and it just that way everyone sees who wins and they can go talk to them and congratulate them. And so if you get a ticket now, if you come to the show on Friday or Saturday and you buy a raffle ticket, you don't have to have, an admission on Sunday. You can just show up when the raffle is, and as long as you're there, you can win. So you don't feel like you have to have an admission to the show on Sunday if you're just, a one-day ticket buyer or something like that.
You do have a weekend pass special. It's $60 for adults, $35 for kids, and that saves you a little bit of money over buying all 3 days. So that's a good package. So anybody local should certainly do that, and anybody traveling in probably is doing that. I'm
and
guessing.
Again. Yeah, and that's at the door. So actually, if you register by the 15th, you're going to save $10 off of that.
There you go. That's this Sunday, March 15th. Pre-registration is ending. Anything else we can touch on for you, Ed?
TexasPinball.com, and don't miss the Coast to Coast Pinball Live on Saturday night.
I hear it's going to be
Texas Pinball Festival.
Very, very filled with talking, is what I hear. That's the best commercial I can give it. There'll be talking.
A lot of talk. Well, I'm sure there'll be a few people in there.
We got something fun planned. It'll be good.
All right.
Well, I appreciate how great you guys have been to me. Last year, I mean, you were so welcoming and receptive, and I had a blast covering the show. And I can't wait to do it again this year.
I don't think I actually met you last year at the show. I mean, I
never saw you.
I was so busy, and I know you were running around too, and I didn't actually meet you until Expo, this past Expo.
Yeah, I stopped by the booth once and said, "Hey, is Ed actually here?" And they're like, "Yeah, somewhere." And
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, fair
That's
enough.
how it is.
Fair enough. Well, you're busy. We appreciate the effort. The pinball community appreciates the effort. Your work does not go unnoticed, and can't wait to find you out there in Frisco and see you and say hello and have a great time at the Texas Pinball Festival. Thank you for coming on tonight, Ed.
Thank you, Nate.
Yep. Talk to you guys soon.
Goodbye.
All right, that is going to wrap up episode 145 of Coast to Coast Pinball. We will do a news and email-oriented show later this week. I promise. I know I've had a lot of email questions talking about more expanded thoughts on Predator, my thoughts on people's thoughts on my thoughts on Predator, if that makes any sense. Pop is coming up, so obviously that's going to be a big thing this week. But I've had lots of great emails. Really appreciate you guys sharing the shows around. I had a couple people who were really, I think, new to Coast to Coast Pinball who heard episodes with some of the interviews we've done, whether it was Steve Bowden or Kaylee George or Zach Sharp. Some of those shows, and they shared it around, and we've picked up a healthy amount of listenership based on those shows and really good reception. So I appreciate you sharing that around. Anybody you might think be interested in the show. You don't have to do anything like that, but man, thank you for doing that. To those of you who've gone anywhere to do that. T-shirts are for sale. Small, medium, large, extra large, 2XL, 3XL, and 4XL of the new shirt. I think you've seen the new logo for the show that went live. All I will say on that is I designed the original Coast to Coast Pinball logo on a logo making website. I used about 5 minutes of my day to do that. I paid literally $1.99 for that logo a couple years ago, and I thought it was time to put something together a little more like what I wanted it to be. Something that, that it's a little more me. So I've been working on this thing kind of on and off. And I like where it is. People have asked me if it's an homage to Coast to Coast AM. Kinda. I like the idea of the moon because I like radio and the voice at night. And I used to listen to Coast AM and lots of other talk radio driving on long road trips with my parents when I was a kid. And one thing's constant around the world. We all have the same moon, right? So I'm not trying to get too mushy or too philosophical on you, but the moon's always the same, no matter if you're in New Jersey, in Sydney, Australia, in Barcelona, Spain. We all are looking up at the same moon all around the world. So I've always romanticized about that a little bit. And it's circular like a pinball, right? Right? So that's all I got. Thanks for listening. You can email me anytime you like. Coast2coastpinball@gmail.com. Like it on Facebook. Follow it on Twitter. Coast2coastpinball.com has all your info on the show. Thank you for listening. We'll talk to you again real soon. Take care.